Gary Palm is the great bracketologist from CBS Sports and a regular here on Coast to Coast. He's going to Mackey tonight to see Purdue play Michigan in a battle of two ranked teams. They got a couple of 7-footers. They mean business. Dusty May's doing a great job. And I couldn't believe my eyes when Purdue lost to Ohio State at Mackey. They never lose at Mackey. They had a 26, 27 game, something home winning streak there in West Lafayette. They lost. And that was after Indiana had beat Ohio State in Columbus in overtime by a point. And Indiana's awful. So I couldn't make, anything of it. I don't know what to think of what I saw other than disbelief. Now tonight you got your hands full with this Wolverine team.
Yeah, the Ohio State game, I think, just came too soon after this cross-country trip that Purdue was on. You're out at Rutgers, then you come home for a home game, then you're out in the Pacific Northwest, and the Oregon game is a particular rock fight. And I just think they caught Purdue with tired legs, and especially in the second half of that game, they couldn't hit a shot to save their lives. And that was, and even still, they had a shot at the end to try and catch it. They just didn't look like they had their legs. And then we'll see. Now, 3 days later, they're playing Michigan, although they haven't had to travel now, Purdue, so maybe they'll be a little more comfortable on the home court tonight.
What's their slot? Do you still have them? What's their seed right now in your latest bracketology?
Yeah, the one I did today, they're still a 3. But obviously, they've got an advantageous schedule right here. They've got 4 out of 5 at home, 3 in a row. They lost the first one. They get Michigan, and then next Friday is Indiana. So I think that's their week off in their schedule. And then they're on the road, and then they come back home again. So 4 out of 5 at home for Purdue. And it's a time where they really have to take advantage of it. The Ohio State game, not a very good start to that, but still a chance to do really well here over the next couple of weeks.
They'll kill Indiana. They're awful. Tennessee and Auburn tomorrow at Neville. Is Broom going to play?
Well, Bruce Pearl said he was a game-time decision. And to me, game-time decision means he's probably going to play. That's obviously that would be great for Auburn if he can go. You're probably going to need him in a game like this. So, I think it sounds like a game-time decision always sounds positive to me. I think most of the time, game-time decision means good.
Georgia's playing in Gainesville this weekend, and then they get, I think, a bunch of home games in Athens after that. Are they in decent shape, the Bulldogs?
Well, they don't have to win in Gainesville, but then they do have to start taking advantage of the schedule as it gets a little bit lighter. I mean, the SEC only gets so light. I have 13 teams from the SEC in my bracket today. So you're playing at least one a week, tournament quality team, or at least potential tournament quality team. But Georgia has to take advantage after this game of a schedule that's going to be a little bit more friendly because lately it hasn't been friendly and they've been getting beat. So they need to get things turned around. They're fortunate that they don't have to win in Gainesville, and there's still plenty of season to go. But they do have to take advantage of the chances that are ahead.
Auburn's the number 1 overall seed. Duke, the number 2 overall seed. Duke at Winston-Salem tomorrow, a place where the Deeks are, I think, unbeaten this year, if I'm not mistaken. Will that be a hard game for the Blue Devils?
Well, it can be. They're going to play with confidence, and they've had their moments this year. They just beat North Carolina. Now, this is not, your typical North Carolina, but still, they play with confidence on their home floor. This would be a huge feather in their cap. This is the team that's got a really low net ranking, which is really more about margin of victory than it is, your record or your strength of schedule. But still, Wake Forest can't really afford to get blown out. They need to be competitive and maybe even step up and get the win.
How do you think Houston will do at Fog Allen this weekend?
About the same as everybody does. You go home with a loss. Now, West Virginia won there earlier this year. But for the most part, if you go into Fog, you're probably going home with a loss. And, Houston still does not have a quad 1 win. They're number 3 in the net. They do not have a quad 1 win as we speak. So, this is a chance to obviously, make a statement that this Houston team is actually the Houston team that we're used to seeing, because they really haven't had too many chances to try and prove that yet.
I watched that Illinois-Michigan State game at Breslin. I thought it was terrific. But Illinois is kind of cracking a little bit at the seams right now. Maryland just beat their ass. And now Maryland, I think, plays Indiana next. Is that about right?
Yeah, I believe at IU this weekend, Sunday. So, yeah, Illinois had the flu bug going through the team. Ivicic didn't play. I think he's arguably their best player. He's their second leading scorer, but I think he's their best player. And so, if you're sluggish because you've got this thing going through your team, it shows up in a game like this. And Maryland really took advantage, in particular, of their 7-footer not being on the floor. So, great win for Maryland, though. They really needed something like that. Now they need to go into Indiana. That's a game basically of two teams that would be right around the cut line. So, it's an important game for both of these teams because you're trying to separate from each other. And the winner is going to take another step in that direction.
Indiana's, they played 3 or 4 on the road. They lost 3 or 4. They won at Ohio State. Now they're home for this game. Then they play the 3 or 4 on the road again. My God. And the games that they play on the road are Purdue, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. They're going to lose all 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, that is a rough stretch of schedule. If it's 3 out of 4 on the road, I mean, that's never going to be great. But when the 3 are those teams, Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan State, boy, that home game's really important in that stretch of games because it might be the only one you have a chance to win. So, yeah, for Indiana did not get a very favorable schedule in this part of it because it ends up being 6 out of 9 on the road. Now, obviously, it's going to get softer because it does even up eventually, but you have to survive this part of your schedule for the rest of your schedule to have a chance to be meaningful.
So, Nebraska, did they fall out of the tournament with that loss to USC right now for the time being?
Yeah, that's their 5th loss in a row and the worst of those 5 losses. So, yeah, Nebraska fell out of my bracket today, finally. I forget who they're playing this weekend. Oh, they're at Wisconsin. So a chance for them to take a big step in the right direction because Wisconsin is having a surprisingly good year. I've got them as a 4 seed in the bracket. So, this would be a big win if Nebraska can get it. But they just need to get something positive going because 5 losses in a row. I saw them at Purdue. They were never in that game. That was as bad a game as I bet they've played all year. But they've got to get something positive going if they're going to make the NCAA tournament.
I got to be honest. Alabama, you have a 1 seed in Iowa State as well, and they both are very deserving, and they both have just been kicking teams' asses lately.
Yeah, I mean that's partly why they're there. They've been dominant in the games in which they should be dominant, and Tennessee they've got Auburn at home this weekend. We already talked about that. Iowa State is winning that league, and Duke is. Those 4 teams have really, they haven't entirely separated themselves because the second SEC team on that line kind of rotates around a little bit, and it could eventually be someone that's not in the SEC. But for now, there's 2 SEC teams on that top line, and Alabama, Tennessee. Those teams keep trading back and forth. Florida, maybe Kentucky have been up there for a bit too. So the top of this league is really, really strong. 8 teams in the top 16 of the bracket from the SEC.
So you have St. John's and 8. They're automatic this year after they got left out last year. Patino's done a hell of a job with this team.
Yeah, they have. There's nothing automatic about it unless they win their league, but they're on a good track to make it so that the committee doesn't have to really make a decision about them this year.
All right, listen, Jerry, have a great time at Mackey tonight. Enjoy that great game with Michigan and Purdue. Should be awesome. Have a fantastic weekend.